welcome to this week's Midweek warm-up. We are
Still midweek.
Still a little later than anticipated. But anyhow, we're here in Job 18 today.
It might be posted on Wednesday.
I don't know if it'll make it by then, but if not, it'll be early Thursday. So anyway.
Still kind of midweek.
Yeah. Take it away.
Okay, so where were we last week?
Death. Sadness.
Death.
Yeah.
Like an Edgar Allan Poe poem.
Not quite as morbid. I mean, still, obviously.
Pretty morbid.
Okay, not as morose. Just dark.
It's not, wow.
Okay.
It's got cars on. Are you ready now?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to read chapter 18 of Job then. And so it reads, Then Bildad the Shuhite, he's really short, answered and said, How long till you put an end to words? Gain understanding, and afterward we will speak. Why are we counted as beasts and regarded as stupid in your sight? You who tear yourself in anger, shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rock be removed from its place? The light of the wicked indeed goes out, and the flame of his fire does not shine. The light is dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him is put out. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsel casts him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walks into a snare. The net takes him by the heel, and a snare lays hold of him. The noose is hidden for him on the ground, and a trap for him in the road. Terrors frighten him on every side, and drive him to his feet. His strength is starved, and destruction is ready at his side. It devours patches of his skin. The firstborn of death devours his limbs. He is uprooted from the shelter of his tent, and they parade him before the king of terrors. They dwell in his tent who are none of his. Brimstone is scattered on his dwelling. His roots are dried out below, and his branch withers above. The memory of him perishes from the earth, and he has no name among the renowned. He is journeyed from light into darkness, and chased out of the world. He has neither son nor posterity among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Those in the west are astonished at his day, as those in the east are frightened. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. So how does that strike you? It's different from last one.
I'm rubbing your glue, sort of. That.
She's sword fighting Monkey Island.
He's indignant, I guess is the best way to put it. Why are you calling us stupid? Why are you acting like we don't know what we're talking about? You're the one who's, been cut off and who's been cursed and clearly must not know God. So it seems a kind of question and speculation. He starts out speaking directly to Job, and then kind of switches gears and refers to him as he.
Well, he is still talking to him, but it goes from being a full accusation to general platitudes about existence. Because I think you're right in saying that he's indignant, but I think it even goes past indignant at this point, and he's just flat out angry. And so he's angrily responding by not saying anything that has anything to do with what's going on. He's just saying general platitudes that really don't actually apply in reality twice. It's a double reality. It's a double dose of reality. It's late.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it's late. We're tired, but
okay,
still.
So anyway. And so these things, we'll talk about the first 4 verses and we'll go on and the rest of it there, because first 4 is talking about how long we put an end to words, gain understanding, and after we will speak. He's, like Emily said, he's just flat out indignant at Job and is mad at him, saying, You're calling us stupid. Why do you treat us as stupid when we know more than what you're talking about? So I think there's a little bit of arrogance here and self-righteousness, and God kind of smacks him for it later on, but we're not there yet. And so in verse 4 it says, You who tear yourself in anger, shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rock be removed from its place? And so he's basically saying, you're going and responding in anger to your punishment. Why should everything be moved and change its natural place for you? And I've seen lots of people with that response. It's not exactly a not normal response for humans.
To feel like what applies to everyone shouldn't apply to me because I'm special.
Yeah, I'm very special. And so you feel like that regularly. But obviously we know from the viewpoint outside that Job is special in this case. And no, this does apply to him. But we're going to go on here through the rest of chapter 18, and I don't think it's really necessary to go through every single verse like I normally do, because these really are all saying the exact same thing for most of this. Because it has the light of the wicked going out, the flame is fired, and the shine, the light dark in his tent, his lamp shines out. His steps are short, and his counsel cuts him down, yada, 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 blah, 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 for the next 12 verses. And obviously they're all important because it's in the Bible, but it's all different ways of saying bad guys get what's coming to them. And this is where the essence of karma comes from, is from this passage reading.
Well, I think verse 12.
Yes, verse 12.
Maybe it's not.
Verse 12 is where it's talking about his body being eaten.
Okay, that's not it. It's his counsel. Okay, verse 7. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsel casts him down. So he's basically saying everything Job is saying is condemning him. Mm-hmm. That Job, every time Job tries to defend himself, it just makes it worse.
Self-incriminating.
Yeah.
Which is why we have the Fifth Amendment. Didn't exist for Job yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's really going through and saying over here over and over again is, you're bad, you get what's coming to you, that's all there is to it. Which, as we said in the last few weeks, this is one of the first generations after the flood. I mean, they honestly saw every dead, well, obviously dead, every bad person on the planet got killed. That's a pretty clear indication of judgment for sin. And so I understand why they'd have a very black and white image of that, but they didn't have the following 4,000 years of history to show that that's not really what happens normally.
That God desires mercy, not sacrifice.
Yeah, and so we have, obviously, going up to that point, everyone was wiped out in the flood, except for one family. They lived through, and then there are more bad people come along later because that's how humans work. Mm-hmm. But these guys didn't have the capacity to see Nebuchadnezzar. They didn't see Alexander the Great. They didn't see any of the Caesars. They didn't see any of the Herods. They didn't see Mussolini, Stalin, Mao Zedong, Kim Jong-un. Any of these thousands of leaders that are extremely bad, or even non-leaders like Al Capone, Whitey Bulger. Criminals that, many of them ultimately paid the price for the sins that they committed by dying whatever way. But they lived pretty high on the hog the rest of their life. And that's what this is saying they're not going to happen. It says that a noose is hidden for him on the road and a trap for him or a noose is hidden for him on the ground and a trap for him in the road, in verse 10. And then in 11, terrors frighten him on every side, drive him to his feet. And it's basically saying that if they do something bad, they're going to be hunted down and punished for it. And ultimately, yes, you will be. But that's not how it works generally for most people. Because most people live a life of sin and then die, and they think they did an amazing job, and they go to hell. And that's obviously where the ultimate punishment is.
Yeah.
But they're rewarded through life for it, seemingly. Because they get what they think they want. Because this life is full of things that we want, like nice cars, nice houses, vacations, lots of cheesecake, trophy wives, like this one.
But none of those things satisfy, because the core of the issue is that I'm sure you've probably heard of the God-shaped hole in our hearts. That always kind of,
it's a song by Ulterium.
It didn't necessarily click for me. Not that I didn't understand it, but it just, to me, it's more a matter of God designed us to be vessels, and within that vessel is supposed to be His Holy Spirit, His Spirit. But we keep putting other things, we keep trying to fill ourselves with material possessions or whatever we determine is success, or cheesecake or whatever else it is. Chocolate. And it's not satisfying because
Well, it is satisfying, but it doesn't last.
it doesn't last. It doesn't satisfy the deep desire within us that we have to be known by God and fellowship with Him.
That would be the God-shaped hole side.
Yes, I know. It just,
I know you know. I'm just pointing out for our viewers.
it makes me think of the game Perfection.
Which she loves. I got it for her for Christmas.
That's true. It makes me very anxious. But the concept is still that if you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, it's probably not going to work. But we try every shape known to man except for the one that is designed to fit.
Because
Usually.
most people don't want it to fit in there.
Because it requires
Sacrifice.
sacrifice. It requires submitting to God and letting Him be in charge, acknowledging that He's in charge. Because whether or not you want to admit it, He's in charge. He'll let you make decisions in your life and let you do pretty much whatever you like. He'll let you live your life. Just like He was letting Job live his life. He wasn't making Job behave a certain way. That's why Satan chose Job in this whole process.
Well, he didn't choose him. God chose him.
Okay, but yes.
God said, how about my servant Job?
How have you considered my servant Job? Like,
Hey.
God's not going to make Job obey and keep him from sinning.
No,
but
it's in Job's nature to follow what God says, because that's what he aligned himself to do.
he desires to know and serve and honor God. And through this whole book, you see him really coming to a deeper understanding that he can't do it on his own. And I think he knew that, but through this process, he comes to a deeper understanding that he needs God to...
When he comes to understand that God's bigger than he thought he was.
And more loving and...
Well, and merciful and gracious.
Yeah.
So he knew in the first place that God was big and God provided all these things and God had the right to give bad things also.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't understand that God could use something bad as an illustration to show why he's good.
Yeah. Because obviously this entire story, everything that happened to Job,
Early on.
is for... I mean, even for Job himself, we're not quite there yet, but it drives him to go deeper in his faith and really evaluate who is God and who is He to me? Who do I believe He is? And what do I believe about Him?
Well, and not only that, but who is the Redeemer and who is the Savior?
Exactly.
And those are questions that people have been asking throughout history. And that's what fills that hole.
Exactly.
Because it's a God-shaped hole because God has to go in it.
Yes.
But now we're off a rabbit trail.
Sorry.
We're going to talk about the last part. So here in verse 15 it says, "They dwell in his tent who are none of his. Brimstone is scattered on his dwelling." And so the brimstone part doesn't seem to fit to the first part. But the first part here is the dwelling in his tent. It's saying that all of his offspring are dead.
So somebody else inherits all of his stuff.
Yeah. And so someone else is living in his house because he lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the brimstone scattered on his dwelling is showing fire from heaven, killing everything, which that literally did happen to Job in chapter 2. So, yeah, it doesn't sound like much fun. It'd be cool to watch, but we've had to have it happen to you. And so in verse 16, it says, "His roots are dried up below, and his branch withers above." And so his roots, what are his roots?
His roots of his family line, like his ancestors.
Yeah, they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And his branches are dead because
His children, his offspring.
they had their house fall on them.
Yeah.
Which kind of harsh, but It's like the way the monk talks sometimes. It just comes out harsh because it's reality. So you should watch Monk if you haven't watched it. And so in 17 it says, the memory of him perishes from the earth, and he has no name among the renowned. And so basically his friends are saying, everyone's going to forget you because you're such a loser and you won't admit that you did something wrong. When in reality, Job is probably around 4th, 5th most well-known person in history. It's kind of the irony of that statement there is his friends are saying, you're bad, no one's going to remember you. But he's remembered because of exactly what happened here. That was no fault of Job's. And so he is driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He has neither son nor posterity among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. And so being driven from light to darkness is, you're bad, go back to where you came from. And chased out of the world, it's not literally out of the world, it's out of the
Jewish world.
Well, he wasn't even a Jew, so
I mean,
so it can't be that one.
Pre-Israel.
It's out of civilization, really. It's push him outside. He can go sit outside in the dust and enjoy scraping himself with pieces of glass.
Gross.
Yay. And then the neither son nor posterity among his people is saying everything that he had is dead. It's all gone. He has nothing left for anyone to inherit. And no one to inherit it anyway, so there are none remaining in his dwellings. That's literally saying his entire family is dead. And he has no money to pay servants anymore, so he has no more servants because they're gone. Mm-hmm. So he's literally entirely alone, except for his wife, who isn't mentioned again after she told him to curse God. So where'd she go? I don't know.
She's not mentioned later.
She was jobless. Okay, verse 20. Those in the west are astonished at his day, and those in the east are frightened. So in Hebrew, this would literally say those to the right and to the left. Well, left and then to the right. And that's how directions work. And then you have north and south, which are different, with Negev being the south. And so this is what I was talking about with Abraham earlier in Genesis, is when he offered Lot the land to the right or the left, he's saying, do you want the west side or the east side of the river? That's what he's saying here. And so it's saying people that live east of him are scared of him, and the ones to the west are astonished that he's still alive, basically, because he lived through a lot. Mm-hmm. But he ends here with, surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. And so after he's gone through all this time of insulting Job over and over again with platitudes, saying that wicked people get what's coming to them, he just outright here says, you're obviously living in sin. This is the land of sin, and you do not know God one bit. That's harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that?
I just read the first little bit of the next chapter, so I'm excited to do that next week.
You're allowed to be excited. Chapter 19 does not exist for us today. It's not there.
Obviously, Bildad was...
Short.
For one, he was probably very tired because they, remember, had sat there for like a week with Job.
Yeah, I'm sure they're grumpy and tired, and they want to go home, and
They
they
want to
want
go
to
home
rest.
and get back to their business, and they're so insulted because not only are they like, he's not taking our counsel, he's not listening to us or accepting what we have to say, but he's also telling us we're stupid because we're wrong.
He keeps attacking us, and we're trying to help him.
In
Of course,
their
he's doing a horrible job of doing it, but
yes.
sometimes people do horrible jobs of helping, and you just want them to go away. It's reality. They may have good intentions, but that doesn't mean they're helping anything.
Yeah. So
That'd be the discretion is the better part of valor. Knowing if you should help is the better part of helping.
yeah.
Also, like we said several months ago at this point, is his friends did a good job until they opened their mouths.
Yeah.
So what are you going to say?
I don't know.
That's beautiful. Okay, so we
I'm
have
very
his
tired.
friends are now mad at him. They've probably been mad at him, but now they're outright saying they're mad at him. They're saying he's a sinner. He's going to hell because he doesn't know God. It's a marvelous place to end on for the week, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we could read some of 19 if
We're
you
not going
really
to.
want to. I'm so tired.
That's the next week, not this week.
So, again, Bildad is angry and grumpy and frustrated and insulted and
Platitudes are not necessarily your friend.
a little bit puffed up about himself, right?
It's a puff day.
No. Okay, we pray.
See puffy shoes? I could pray. We're not done talking yet. What is the lesson for today? The lesson of chapter 18 is to be tired, apparently.
So tired. Ah,
It's been a long day. Or week.
it's not even been that long of a day. It's just I'm tired.
Well, for me, I got up at 5.
But he also went back to sleep.
You can tell him on that.
Anyway,
It wasn't very long. Okay, so obviously, the point of chapter 18 is bad people get what's coming to them. But we know that it's taken out of the context of where reality is here because we have the rest of the Bible say that's not necessarily how it works. Obviously, eventually they will get what's coming to them because they're going to hell. And that's not very happy. But it doesn't mean they're not going to get nice things in life. But they're not going to get fulfillment out of life because they don't know God.
yes.
Okay, so there we are. Now we'll go and pray. Dear Lord in heaven, we thank you for this day and thank you for the example of Job and his three stupid friends that he has. And just thank you that we have the information here to know that we can act with wisdom and understanding. We just ask that you would provide clarity and understanding to things that we were going through each and every day, and just ask that you would be with those who are having struggles and trials right now, and just give them understanding and peace, and just draw them to you. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you that you sent your Son to be our Savior, our Redeemer, and that you're willing to do these things even though we don't deserve it. Thank you for everything you've done. In your wonderful name I pray. Amen.
Yeah.
So apparently we're going to go to bed now. Well, once the video uploads, so have a good night. Or morning when you watch this, because it probably won't be tonight.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts and maybe a verse that God has been
Or a personal
teaching
story
you
about
to.
this.
Yeah. I hope no one has stories about people treating them this way.
I'm sure everyone has a story about this.
Anyhow, thank you for stopping and watching with us and studying Job. And
Not falling asleep.
I seriously am about to fall asleep again. So,
Have a night.
have a good night. Thanks.
Bye.